Mitsubishi specializes in launching new generations which seem to look more or less the same like the old models. This is the new-ish Mitsubishi L200 or Triton if you live in Asia. And why am I walking next to a moving car? Obviously I'm trying to lose weight, but there are other reasons as well. Okay, enough. Stop you.
Mitsubishi makes the L200, or the Triton, since 1978. Like the Toyota Hilux or the Nissan Navara, also the L200 started off as something that looked like a sedan with a pickup bed, but over the years it got a lift and other off-road attributes. I'll admit, the last time I drove the L200 was when the car was still in its 4th generation, and I liked it so much I never bothered to try out the 5th gen model. Until now. Because this is still the 5th generation, only facelifted. But I have to give the Mitsubishi designers credit where credit is due. The blinged-out fascia looks massive and aggressive. If I didn't tell you this was a facelift, you'd probably believe it was a new car, especially since the refreshed L200 is now longer. Extra length also means slightly different approach and departure angles. More about that later. From the side, when you look at the passenger compartment, it sort of kind of looks familiar. But then you look away towards the rear lamp cluster, which goes far back along the side, and you forget about the familiar rear door, etc. Oh, butterfly!
The most important part of a pickup truck is the pickup bed, of course, which is where we'll start. Now, the soft opening mechanism is an option. One thing I found strange is that the bed is not lockable. There is no key and there is no connection to the central lock. I assume you get some sort of protection with those aftermarket covers. There is also an aftermarket case which you can fit between the rear wheel arches.
Speaking of the wheel arches, there is less than 110 centimeters between them. Ford Ranger has 114 centimeters between the wheel arches, and the outgoing Mercedes-Benz X-Class has 121 centimeters, which made it possible to load 2 Euro pallets on its bed. It wouldn't be that big of a deal if the L200 at least had a long and wide bed, but in this double cab version, the bed is just 152 centimeters long and 147 centimeters wide. It's not a matter of 1 or 2 centimeters, but more like 5 to 9 centimeters versus the competition. Can you imagine how much extra toilet paper you could stuff back here?
Space in the back is okay. It's better than in the Navara or the X-Class, which is based on a Nissan pickup. In a Mitsubishi, the floor is lower than in the Navara, so therefore you're sitting in a more natural position and there is slightly more headroom, but compared to the Hilux, there's not much difference really.
Like in the Hilux, also the L200 doesn't have air vents in the back. I've seen Australian and Asian Triton reviews where the car had vents on the ceiling, but in the European models, passengers in the back will have to sweat in the summer or freeze in the winter. There are 2 USB ports though, door pockets are big enough to hold medium-sized bottles. There is also an armrest with cup holders. The toolkit is behind the backrest, which you release pulling one strap in the middle. Unfortunately, the seat doesn't go up, so if you want to carry something larger or dirty, you have to cover the seats.
Like many other pickups, also the Mitsubishi L200 can have optional side steps, which are supposed to make getting in and out easier, but in real life they mainly collect dirt and make it more difficult to get in for everyone but children. Also, judging by the marks here, they negatively affect the ground clearance and the breakover angle, which under normal circumstances are 22 centimeters and 25 degrees respectively. However, the L200 has these grab handles all around. Each door has these, and these actually do work and they do help you get in.
In the front, compared to the pre-facelift version, changes are subtle. There is a new color display between the same analog dials. I'm not sure the fake carbon finish is absolutely necessary, but I'll leave it to the pickup fashion police, if there is any. All slots over the left knee are taken, so some of the driver aids had to be moved to the center console. There are 2 cup holders, smallish storage under the armrest, with a 12-volt socket and a slot to lead the cable out. The glove box is also small. At the bottom of the center console there is a cubby for a small smartphone. There are also 2 USB ports, 1 HDMI port, whatever for, as well as the second 12-volt socket. I'd like to see a cubby on top of the dash like in the Volkswagen Amarok. After all, this is a pickup truck and I need a place to put away my working gloves or a clipboard or something. And yes, I know there's a glove box, but they're dirty and I need to have them somewhere within reach. Definitely new is the infotainment system, which is inoffensive to use and has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, something I really missed in the Hilux. But since the refreshed Toyota CHR got the Android Auto, perhaps it will one day also trickle down to the Hilux.
So why was I walking next to a moving car? For some reason the starter button is on the door side rather than on the right side.
Porsche claims their door-side ignition dates back to the days when the Le Mans race commenced with drivers running to their cars. The ignition on the left side allowed the driver to save time by starting the engine with the left hand while putting the car in gear with the right hand. In the original Land Rover Defender, the ignition was on the door side, apparently for farmers who would use the car like a tractor and walk beside it while plowing, for example. If something was wrong, they could easily reach inside and turn the ignition off.
I don't know what was Mitsubishi's rationale behind placing the starter button on the left side rather than on the right side where the normal ignition would be. I asked Mitsubishi Poland, they said they looked at technical documentation and there was no information about it. And really, if you get a car with a traditional key, you insert it here on the right side of the steering wheel.
Under the bonnet is a 2.2-liter 150 horsepower diesel producing 400 Nm of torque. It replaces 2 more powerful motors, but it has more torque than one of them. The engine is mated to a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed auto box. The latter replaces an old 5-speed automatic. The engine doesn't feel particularly rough, but when cold I hear a ringing noise of some sort.
I hope this is just a matter of more than 26,000 kilometers of rigorous media tests, because there are no other suspicious noises in the cabin or from the suspension, even when the car is going over rougher terrain. Speaking of driving across a rougher terrain, the L200 has a leaf rear suspension, so the car likes to jump a bit on bumps, so that's not nice. However, when the weather gets a bit more challenging, let's say, when there is some rain and maybe black ice, stuff like that, you can turn on all-wheel drive even at high speed.
The WLTP combined fuel economy figure for the L200 is almost 10 liters per 100 kilometers. This is easily achievable. Besides diesel, you also have to use AdBlue, which you put through the other filler on the side of the vehicle. For a car this size, the L200 is surprisingly easy to maneuver. The turning circle is just 11.8 meters, 60 centimeters better than the Navara. Maneuvering is easy thanks to a 360 camera. The top trim model gets things like reverse cross traffic alert, which is a great thing even in smaller cars.
My only problem with the 360 camera is that there is no sprinkler, no cleaning system for it. Go through one muddy puddle and you can't see anything. Now, this is not a problem with Mitsubishi L200 as such, but with all off-roaders in general that have some sort of cameras. The only off-roader or SUV I can think of that has a sprinkler on at least one camera is the Land Rover Discovery.
For this big a car, the L200 has decent visibility. Just remember, this is a truck and it does have a truck bed. The seats are comfortable. If not for the slow steering, you could forget how big a car you're driving. And what about driving off-road? The basic L200 has a simpler, easy select 4x4 system. All other versions get the more advanced Super Select system with center and rear diff locks. There are also off-road modes which adapt the 4x4 settings to the surface you're on. There is also a hill descent system. The Mitsubishi L200 has 31 degrees approach angle, 23 degrees departure angle and 25 degrees breakover angle. The lateral travel angle is 45 degrees. I don't have the balls to try it out, but on paper some competitors can do better. After the facelift, which gave the L200 a fascia that is hard to ignore, most changes involve driver aids and safety systems, which are either mandatory or at least suggested, like the forward collision mitigation system, blind spot monitoring, automatic high beam lights, and so on. Prices of the refreshed Mitsubishi L200 start at €30,000 for the club cab or €32,000 for the double cab. This test car in top spec costs about €45,000.
The Mitsubishi L200 is a pickup truck, nothing more, nothing less. It's not bad, but if you ask me why you should choose this one over any other pickup truck, I'd have no good answer. And are you looking for a pickup truck? What parameters are key for you? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, hit subscribe, press the notification bell, etc. and join me for new reviews every Friday. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one.